What's the biggest story of the day? Oh, look, there it is. It's there already. It's Kyrie Irving remaining unvaccinated. My favorite part of the story so far, guys, has been Steve Nash saying with a straight face, I'm not worried about anything. We're just going to keep it moving.
This is weird
day
to me because, like,
what?
I feel like I don't want to get into a public battle with Kyrie, but I feel like they also have not had a private discussion with him either. There seems to be no knowledge of what's going on, and that's what's so weird about this. It's like, okay, it'd be one thing if you were clearly communicating with him privately and like you just weren't telling us, but it's if nobody knows, and it's like,
Do
I
you
don't
know
really
that
care
though, Clinton?
yes, I know that because they just said, I'm telling you based on what they're saying, like, if you don't know if you can hold practices, this is a similar situation with the Wizards at Bradley Beal. They're having practices in Baltimore, actually to do it in DC. What I'm saying is that, like,
no,
if you
I'm
don't
just saying, do you know for sure they're not talking to him?
If you don't know the availability of somebody, it doesn't matter why at this point. And that's what's so like strange about this. It's like, yo, dude, do you want to play basketball? Not. And I think Wiggins kind of made that point. It's like, if you don't want to play basketball, you could just say you don't want to play basketball and then stop playing basketball, as opposed to this whole deal where you've got everybody else caught up in your decision as to whether or not you want to play basketball. It feels like he's wasting his own time, never mind everybody else.
The funny part is we're all freaking out, but if you look at the numbers, Kyrie plays 48% of the Nets games anyway. He never plays. He never plays. Yeah, this feels like we're going to see Howard Bryant's tweet that I think we all saw. Just I think it keeps resonating to Kyrie Irving's situation, right? That someone told him he's a contrarian without a cause. It makes so much sense when you look at it that way, right? Because I think this flat earth stuff is entertaining to him. It's like wildly entertaining that it gets people in a hullabaloo, and he enjoys it. It doesn't impact his page. We're about to see how important all of this is to him, how important sort of the ego is,
being
right?
that guy.
Yeah, $380,000 a game. I mean, potentially $15 million if he was to miss all of his home games. But here's the part that I'm having a hard time coming to terms with. Why the hell would the Nets be okay with having a part-time player? Like, what has Kyrie done to show you what has that team done enough to show you that you would be willing to pay someone half their contract?
Why this ends up,
that doesn't make any sense.
That's why this ends up being in part about Kevin Durant, right? When you have two superstars that are as linked as those two, and you have a guy in Kevin Durant who, as of now, has not been comfortable, at least publicly, saying that he thinks that Kyrie should get vaccinated for the sake of the team and himself and everybody else. When you have somebody of that stature, who right now is probably the best player in the league, right? At least arguably in that conversation, you're going to have to not only try to placate Kyrie to get him back, but also Kevin Durant, because he's so tied to Kyrie that if you don't treat Kyrie right, what do you end up with in terms of a disgruntled KD? Now, I don't think they're going to let him just play half the games, not practice, etc. But they're in a tough spot because he said he'll retire if he gets traded and other things. To your point, too, about the money, I just want to say this about Kyrie, which is fascinating to me, because people are not a monolith, and we know that. But Kyrie, for all of the I'm smarter than everybody, I need to be a contrarian about certain things, is also an incredibly charitable dude who cares a lot about the things that he feels deeply. And so that $380,000 isn't just me, my family, my kids' generational wealth, but he was helping pay WNBA salaries for players who couldn't get an out of the bubble and weren't going to get paid if they didn't get that out. He's, taking on social justice issues that matter to him. So he's losing the money for himself and his ability potentially to make a difference in the things that matter to him, that are well received publicly, that are oftentimes feel in conflict with the rest of what he stands for.
Follow-up question on this.
Wait when we want to go.
Or you guys can call for it.
Well, I don't know. You didn't have anything else to say about this? I got tons more to say about this, because this is going to be a referendum too on the power of the NBPA. Because one of the most interesting things I heard was that the reason that they weren't stepping up and making a strong case for this is because they did not want to have to put money behind the opposing side. Consider that. The NBPA not only has to defend the players with whom the majority agrees, but also the minority opinion, which means they would have to use NBPA money to hire lawyers and doctors who will agree that the vaccination is bad and you shouldn't have to take it. And they don't want any part of that. So they're in a really tough position there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there's also part of this, Elle, where it's like everybody knows a brother like Kyrie, and you're just like, come on, man, you're holding up the show. And there's a lot of it that I think, especially with the way we've seen the last week evolve, like what Wiggins said and what Bradley said, like there's no discussion about whether or not the value is a thing anymore with Kyrie. A conversation about him and his mentality about life and whether or not he's available for the Nets. So I'm not really that concerned. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, if he's not going to play, he's not going to play. The season will go on. Trust me.
Question,
yes.
guys. Could you see KD turning on Kyrie? I mean, he was one big toe away from beating the Bucks by himself last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't look at this as turning on Kyrie. If, again, the team just decides to play. Like, this is not this is not the bubble. This is not the situation where a bunch of folks were getting on the players saying they had no cause, when in reality, in that situation, they just needed to actually just stop everything. Kyrie was the one who was like, why don't y'all just get out of our faces for a little bit? This isn't that. This is impeding progress, not the other way around. And I would not see anybody deciding that Kyrie Irving not playing basketball wasn't a big deal in their lives as a betrayal. Not even close.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.